Hey friends, join me as I cook by memory at Miss Penny's Favorite Foods. Hi everybody, this is Miss Penny with another one of Miss Penny's Favorite Foods. This is my grandma's sweet potato bread. It's a sweet potato summer bread. She makes a sweet potato winter bread as well, but this is her summer sweet potato bread. And we'll get started. It's a simple recipe, and you use what fruit you have in season or your favorite in this recipe, and you don't need much of it. So we're going to get started. You do not need a mixer. That's the wonderful thing about quick breads. You do not need a mixer. We're going to mix everything up right here, and we'll get started. And basically what you're going to do is mix your wet ingredients first, and then mix your dry ingredients in to the wet ingredients, and then bake. So here we go. Okay. All right. So our wet ingredients are 1 cup of mashed sweet potatoes. Now, when people make sweet potato bread, a lot of times they puree their sweet potatoes. My grandmother, she always mashed them so that she had tiny bits of sweet potato in the bread so that you knew exactly what you were eating. So this is mashed sweet potatoes, not whipped, not pureed. All right. 1 cup of mashed sweet potatoes. They go in the bowl. This is a really good bread, and it's a little bit sweeter than regular bread, but you can always cut that back if you want. But you'll see what I mean, because to that sweet potato, we're going to put a tablespoon of orange zest and a tablespoon of the orange juice from the orange. And this orange zest, it's a whole navel orange that zested, and it gave me a full tablespoon. And then I put a tablespoon of the juice in as well, because it is it's a summer sweet potato. It's not a winter. And also we have got the zest of half a lemon, which is a little less than a teaspoon. And again, a teaspoon of the actual lemon juice. That goes in. Make sure you get all your zest. All right. So we have sweet potatoes and we have zest. Give that just a little blend. We're going to add 2 eggs. 1, 2. 2 whole large eggs, room temperature. Mix that in as well. To that, we're going to add melted butter, and this is 3/4 of a stick, so it's about 1/3 of a cup. We're going to put that in. Give that a quick stir, quick little blend. To that, we're going to add, of course, vanilla. And we're going to add a tablespoon of vanilla. Last but not least, we're going to use about a teaspoon of Grandma's molasses, because it works really, really well with sweet potato and pumpkin. In that family, molasses works really well. So we're going to put a teaspoon of molasses. And I'm going to eyeball this. That's our wet ingredients. Give it a quick stir. We've got a cup of sweet potatoes. We've got the zest of a half a lemon and a teaspoon of lemon juice. You've got the zest of an orange, which is a tablespoon, and a tablespoon of the orange juice. You've got a third of a cup of butter. And all that is in there. And of course, your teaspoon of vanilla or a drop more. Okay. And it's going to look like that. It's just going to look like that. It's going to be a little bit lumpy because your sweet potatoes have just a tiny bits of sweet potatoes that haven't been mashed, because once it bakes, it's even going to be less. So I do like to see the tiny little bits of sweet potato in my bread. Okay, to that we're going to add all of our dry ingredients. First, we're going to add our flour. We have got a cup of wheat flour and a half a cup of all-purpose white flour. We also have a teaspoon of baking powder and a fourth of a teaspoon of baking soda. We also have an eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg, an eighth of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a full teaspoon of salt. All that's in here. So we're going to put that in. And like I said, quick bread is great because you don't have to use a mixer for it. You do not have to use a mixer. And that's what makes it so great. So after you combine all that, it's going to look like that. It's going to still be a little thick. All right. We've got to put a half of a cup of brown sugar. That goes in. And pack your brown sugar, a half of a cup of packed brown sugar, light brown. If you have dark brown, use dark brown. And then you blend that in. And you blend it in so that it's all incorporated. And what that'll do too with that sugar is loosen it up, changes the chemistry. So now it's more pourable. It's a little more relaxed. It's a little more relaxed now. That's what sugar does. It relaxes it. All right, last but not least, we're going to put in a little bit of fruit because it is a summer sweet potato bread. And what we're going to add is a fourth of a cup of cranberries or craisins. We're going to add that, and you can use any fruit you want. I'm using the craisins because I have them. But if you want to use any kind of summer fruit, plums, peaches, cherries, any kind of summer fruit that you think would be good in here, put it in. The last thing I'm going to put in is a half a cup of chopped pecans. That's the last thing. So we put in a half a cup of pecans, fourth of a cup of cranberries. We put a half of cup of brown sugar packed, and that's it. So I'm going to give it a quick blend. And that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Quick and easy, and you're done. All right, so this is not a large loaf. This is a smaller loaf. So it's going to go in the 8x4 loaf pan. This is my smaller loaf pan. An 8x4 is going to go in that. If you only have the one size or whatever, go in and use it. Of course, if you want to make a sheet cake and not a loaf, use that. But just know that it's not a full loaf pan. And you can gauge whatever you have, use it. It'll be good regardless. All right. So then, here goes the bread. It smells wonderful. And all I did was butter the pan. Whenever I make breads, I always butter my pan. I do not use the spray. And there's nothing wrong with the spray. I use the spray all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. Except that when I'm doing breads and pound cakes, I really like that pan butter. That's how my grandmother did it. That's how I'm doing it. But if you have spray and you want to use spray, of course, use spray. Use what you have. Use what you have. Gotta do that. You need it to settle, and you need to release air bubbles that may want to come to the top so your bread won't crack. Okay, we're going to put this in the oven for 50 to 60 minutes on 350 middle rack. And we're going to let it get that, we're going to get that done. Once we get it done, I'll come back and I'll slice it and we'll taste it. But this is what it looks like. It's thick, but it has some relaxation to it. But it's thick and it's dense. And it is a wonderful summer bread. And use, like I said, any fruit that you would like. And if you don't want fruit, don't put fruit in it. You can have just a sweet potato bread. You do not have to put fruit in it. You do not have to put nuts in it. If you want to make it interesting, go ahead. Some people may even put chocolate chips in it. Butterscotch chips in it. Whatever you want. All right, we're going to put it in the oven for 50 to 60 minutes. I'll be back and let you know when it's done. And we'll go from there. All right. See you in a minute. Okay, everybody. The homemade sweet potato, my grandma's sweet potato bread, summer sweet potato bread, is out of the oven. It is still hot, but this is it. That is it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I made a simple glaze. I made it the color of sweet potatoes. So it's an orangish, reddish kind of color, just to bring out the fact that there's a cup of sweet potatoes in it. So it's just a simple glaze. It's orange, a half of orange juice from this orange to the other half, and 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar, and the juice from the other half of this orange. That's it. That's it. So glazes don't have to be complicated. They can be, but they don't have to be. All right, so what we're going to do is just put a little glaze on this, just to let everybody know it's sweet potato. It's sweet potato. So here we go. And you know, I told you, the good thing about glaze is it hardens. It stays in place and it hardens. I don't want a lot of glaze because it is technically a bread. But I do want a little sweetness to it, a little dessert kind of flavor. So that's what we did. Sweet potato, Grandma's sweet potato bread. It's good. It's got pecans in it. It's got cranberries in it. And it's got sweet potatoes in it. And this is it. I am going to cut a little piece because it is still hot. It is. And I have to acknowledge that it is hot. So it will not slice probably as well as when it's cold, but I'm going to try to do it delicately. That's how it looks inside. You can see the pecans. You can see little bits of sweet potato. And you can see the cranberries. So it's a beautiful bread. It's a beautiful bread. Okay, we're going to taste it. And we're going to see how much we like it. I know it's good. I've had it a million times. The pecans are a really good touch. It gives it texture. You can see tiny little flecks of sweet potatoes in here. And the cranberries gives it that tiny little pop of tartness. It's really good. You've got to make it. I love you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, be blessed. I love you and thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you. Bye-bye.